One-sided as Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza threw 3 touchdowns, while Indiana's defense held Alabama to just 193 total yards. IU heads to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl after a commanding 38-3 victory, and our guy Stephen A. was not shy about how he felt about what this means for Kalen DeBoer. Quote, "There is no other way to slice it. This is an awful look for Kalen DeBoer at Alabama football. Losses happen through ass kickings in the CFB playoffs. For an SEC team, it's not supposed to go down this way." We'll probably hear Alabama folks saying DeBoer should have taken himself to Michigan. I mean, this is that damn bad. Paul, I know you're going to have fireworks on your show today, and I know you've been hearing about this for the last 12 or so hours. What is the state of Alabama football like this morning?
It's in shambles, and I know that sounds like a remarkable statement considering that we were in the quarterfinals yesterday and Alabama was playing in the Rose Bowl, but because it was on that stage, the grandest stage in college football, against a team that nobody from Alabama respected. And I'm not talking about Kalen DeBoer and his team. I'm talking about the fans who make up the Alabama fan base. They look at Indiana and laugh. And the problem they had is as they watched that game yesterday, that team that looked like them in color and uniform as well, looked like a Nick Saban coach team, and it was being coached by Cignetti, who is a Saban disciple. I mean, they weren't just winning the game on the scoreboard; they were beating Alabama at the line of scrimmage to a pulp. I mean, you could, if you listen closely, you could actually hear the Alabama players saying, "No more. We've had enough." I mean, they looked soft. They looked poorly coached. I mean, it was laughable. I've watched Alabama football my entire life. I mean, I started with the end of the Bear Bryant era, and even poorly coached Alabama teams have never had a display like that yesterday. So I realize Kalen DeBoer played for the SEC championship. I realize he came from 17 down, but he really wasted a lot of that good capital yesterday. And I think Alabama fans, or at least the ones I've heard from already, are irate. I'm not saying Kalen DeBoer is gone. I mean, come on. He'll probably get a contract extension because he didn't go to Michigan. But there are very few Alabama fans today who believe he can win a national championship. And as all of you know, Alabama is not judged by looking good and by winning 10 games. They are judged by national championships. And that's the concern today, that he can't do it.
Kalen, the state of Alabama football right now is realizing that all of their championship relevance relies on ghosts. It relies on ghosts of people who have statues on that campus, like Wallace Wade and guys like Bear Bryant, obviously Nick Saban. This feels much like the vast land of championships from 1997 to 2006. And Paul, you've been covering them forever. Cam, you played at Auburn. You know what it was like from the time that Gene Stallings walked out of Tuscaloosa until Nick Saban came, right? They got names like DuBose and Frank Young and names like Mike Shula. All of those coaches who we knew had no shot at winning a national championship. That's where this team is. The reason that we talk about Alabama is because of what Nick Saban did, but Nick Saban ain't walking through that door right now. And it's not just about the way or when Alabama doesn't win a championship. It's about the way it looks. It's about the way, how prepared are you? How do you execute? How tough is your team? How resilient is your team? How does your team respond to adversity? And when it's going bad, the thing that always happened at Alabama was the camera scanned from the field to the head coach. And the head coach always looked like he had answers when it was Nick Saban. And when Nick Saban didn't have the answer, you knew one thing: those headphones was going to fly and somebody was going to get their ass chewed out. Kalen DeBoer looked like he ain't have a clue yesterday. And that's Alabama's biggest problem right now.
Cam?
So when you start to think about, the state of Alabama, I think one thing people must understand is Nicholas Lou Saban Jr. is not coming back. And it's time for everybody to turn the page. Mm-hmm. His dominance should utterly be always appreciated, should always be looked at as a way to kind of measure certain things. But it's over. his dominance and his greatness as a coach is so great that all four head coaches that's in this year's college football semifinals had some type of stint under his coaching staff. That's Mario Cristobal. You had Dan Lanning at Oregon. You had Curt Cignetti, obviously at Indiana, and Pete Golding at one particular point in time learned up under Coach Nick Saban. That's how great he is. It's no wonder why we look at Alabama the way we look at Alabama. It's because of the head coach, former head coach. When you look at the dynamic of what transpired yesterday, you forget that Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, TJ Yeldon, Sean Alexander, Trent Richardson, Eddie Lacy, Josh Jacobs, those guys, not to forget Jahmyr Gibbs. They did not run the football. You had a team that whooped you who ran the football 50 times. It's the optics of what people look at. And when you start to measure Alabama as a whole, let's stop comparing Kalen DeBoer to an unrealistic expectation in Nicholas Saban. Let's start to say, hey, this coach has to find his own way and his own identity. Because what we've seen in the last couple of games or throughout this past season is he gets mollywopped in the SEC championship, and the last time we saw the Alabama Crimson Tide play, he got mollywopped again with no utter sense of identity. And that's alarming, and that's something to keep an eye out on as we see Alabama moving forward.
I want to drill down on this further because you all said things that were poignant here. Paul, Alabama fans don't respect Indiana. Cam, the optics of how they lost this game. RC, the way that it looks. Stephen A., the ass kicking that we saw. Yeah. This is not just any loss, guys. This was 38-3. How bad in actuality is that part of it, the way that they lost? You
know, yesterday you definitely came into work with a little spunk, right? Like you had a feeling, right? But you had a feeling based on the perception of the world, not based on who Indiana was. You knew who Indiana was, right? You knew how physical they were. You knew how well coached they were. But everybody in Alabama, everybody in Louisiana, everybody in Georgia, and we all know this, Paul, we know this, Cam, we feel like football was invented in the South. And because it was invented in the South, and because it's the way we all wake up on every Saturday, on every Friday, on every Sunday, we think that we own it. So when Curt Cignetti walks in with these guys from Indiana, with that team that wears striped warm-ups when they play basketball, we thought to ourselves, oh, wait, there's no way they're going to define what football is in college now. But they did. And they did it against Alabama. And for whatever reason, or for whatever you think, for the last 2 decades, Alabama defined what football looked like. If you beat Alabama, you were now considered a good team. You were now considered a university and a program that was respectable. That wasn't a beating. That was an ass whipping. That was something you don't come back from. That was something that changes programs, and it's changed Indiana. And I know Alabama fans now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this team is not ready to compete for a championship.
No, I mean, I think the realization of where we are in college football should be highlighted on the coaches, like I mentioned, that can recruit and that can develop. When you look at Kalen DeBoer, he has arguably one of the most dynamic players that we all thought was supposed to have it,